Can you picture the situation? Can you imagine yourself being the focal point? Guilty, 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 guilty. And then there's Jesus. Did you ever hear of the Dreyfus affair? There's a Dreyfus fund out there, but it was a very, very famous tragedy. It took place in France. I don't know the details behind all this, but the French military was convinced that there was a traitor in their midst, passing secrets on to the Germans. And they needed to find somebody who was either guilty or that they could blame. And somehow, all the fingers pointed at a 35-year-old artillery officer named Helfrich Dreyfus. And all the evidence was possibility, suspicion, it could have been. They held a trial behind closed doors. Dreyfus had a good lawyer and a great case, and he was found guilty. And he was condemned to Devil's Island. And if you remember the movie Papillon with Steve McQueen, Devil's Island. It's off the coast of South America. Sweltering heat, terrible conditions. And some months after the trial, Dreyfus ended up on Devil's Island. His wife convinced him not to shoot himself. It was 3 years later that a very, very famous French author, Émile Zola, he wasn't writing romance novels, but novels about social issues, alcoholism, strikes. Émile Zola published an article in a newspaper, and the headline was simply, "J'accuse," I accuse. And this very famous author boldly, single-handedly accused the Prime Minister of France, accused the military authorities of railroading this man because they needed a victim. And he accused the whole culture of the only crime Dreyfus was guilty of, being Jewish. Now, for Zola's part, he took so much heat for this that 6 months later he literally disappeared from Paris. And it turns out that he snuck out of the country and spent the next year in London for his own safety. Now, eventually, Dreyfus was exonerated. What I find the most unbelievable part of the story is he returned to the French army, the army that threw him under the bus. And he served with great honor and distinction. And his son served as well. And Zola, he was an assassination victim. The shooter hit him in the arm. He survived, of course. But that's what he got for telling the truth. That's where he got what he got for standing up and saying, not Dreyfus, but I accuse you, and you, and you. And here's this woman obviously guilty. The law says we should stone her. What do you say? What a story. Jesus bends down and starts writing on the ground. Tell you what. The one among you who is without sin, you get it all started. Because in effect, Jesus was standing up and saying, I accuse you. She's guilty, so are you. And here we are. Every time we celebrate the Eucharist, near the very beginning of Mass, Lord, have mercy on me. I confess I'm a sinner. Just before communion, Lord, I'm not worthy. And there's the Lord in effect saying, oh, I know that. Why do you think I came? Take and eat. Take and drink. As we announced last week, we'll be sharing the precious blood. There'll be a station over here and a station over there. You do not have to go, but it will be available again. Lord, we are not worthy. I know. But come. Take and eat. Take and drink. Guilty. 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 When I was younger, we used to joke about television, the boob tube. You know, there are dimensions of television that have changed pretty dramatically. And I just invite you to consider how much time you spend watching TV and how many accusations you hear, how much blame you hear leveled. They're the ones. They're the ones. Too much of that is not good for the soul. Because we live by a gospel that is not about condemnation, but compassion and mercy. We know nothing about what happened after this event, except that Jesus ended up crucified. What about the woman? What about those who were so righteous and slunk away? Ooh. And what about us? Rescued, saved, forgiven. What a gift we've been blessed with. And what a challenge and mission we have to help steer this world away from all the finger pointing, the accusation, the condemnation. Oh, we need some changes, all right, but it's not going to happen that way. It will happen His way. Through compassion, through mercy, through understanding, through respect. He has set us free. And He calls us to help set others free. May God bless us all.